All right, we are live. Woohoo! Welcome
Woohoo!
everyone to our Saturday morning coffee chat. It is Maisha and Zoraida of Brown Sisters Speak, and our guest host Jetaun Jones, the full housewife, the message midwife, author, speaker, amazing, phenomenal woman. And today we're going to talk about writing for recovery and how writing can help you heal through your mental health issues. So, Jatan, let's open it up to you and let's ask you. So, what is your sister's story?
Oh, thank you for having me. Oh, goodness gracious. My sister's story has started, I always say, for as long as I can remember. I remember suffering from anxiety and depression from as early as 4 years old. Um, and for the longest time, I still can't remember. Like, my husband literally asked me like a week ago, do you ever remember a time when you woke up where you weren't feeling anxious and you hadn't taken anything, like ever? And we went back and I was like, no. But I did not get diagnosed with an anxiety disorder or for depression until I was about 20. And that was after I was having massive panic attacks that were brought on by one, the realization that I had been raped when I was 15, all the way up till I was 16. So until I graduated high school, I graduated early by a family friend. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that. And then there was another rape when I was in college. And right after that, I just kind of went off the deep end and I needed help. And I say all that to say it's a little frustrating because even in high school, when I was 13, 14, I would get sick in the middle of school. I would go to the clinic. They would check my blood pressure. And at 13, at a size 6, my blood pressure is 180 over something, 190 over something. And they will all go, "What are you stressed about? You have no reason to be stressed out. You're too young. Calm down. We'll call my
Mhm.
mom, have her come pick me up, and send me home."
Right.
And this would happen at least once or twice a month. No one ever said, "Hey, you might want to get checked out," or "Hey, what's going on with you?" So ever. And we had a clinic right in our school.
Wow.
So they really let me slip through the cracks. And all of the indicators were there. And
Mhm.
no one said or did anything to help me. I had no idea.
Mhm.
And after that, of course, a whole bunch of pitfalls, broken relationships, bad decisions on my part that came out of being depressed, being a rape survivor. Eventually, I hit rock bottom and I started writing. And I started out ghostwriting fiction. And then after that, I started journaling. And then after that, I started helping other women journal through their own pain, and I just realized how therapeutic it was and how it brought me from ground zero to who I am today. And I can't say enough good stuff about it. I tell
Mhm.
people all the time, writing saved my life. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Uh,
That's an awesome story. Sorry, we're all sitting here like,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm like, I want to hear more.
Yeah, I want to hear more, like about. So, I guess when you were 16, and sorry, my cameraman's over here, Micah. When you were 16, um, do you remember that initial feeling like was your chest tight? Were you when you were just kind of going through that moment where they would call your mom from school? Like,
at
did
like
you feel
13,
like it was?
14, what would end up happening is one, when I would go to school, I would feel anxious. Like the
Mhm.
pit of my stomach was just, every morning, because I was an overachiever. So I did like ROTC, so I had to be there like 6 o'clock in the morning, which meant that
Mhm.
I had to be up at 4 because it took me 3 bus rides to get to school.
Oh
Wow.
And
goodness.
So I just remember thinking I can't drink or eat anything because if I do, I'm going to be in the bathroom when I get to school for at least a half an hour. And that was every morning for me. And then eventually just the panic that I had no idea why. I always thought, oh, maybe it's when I'm eating or drinking, maybe it's whatever. I never connected the dots. And then I would just get these terrible headaches and I would start feeling dizzy and stuff like that. And that is ultimately what would put me in the clinic for the day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But everything was just, you just feel like one big nerve ending. I wasn't very good. I had friends. I was friends with everyone, but there were just certain things that I couldn't do, that I would not do, like certain activities, certain things that I've never learned. Like I haven't learned how to jump rope. I've never played volleyball. Everything that I've ever done in terms of extracurricular activity or fun stuff is stuff that I have done and learned on my own, because the anxiety of being like bad in front of people or failing in front of people, it's been too much, so everything is like personal achievement and never like anything group related.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think like it's good if we have young girls who will watch this back, that they're going to be able to hear you and they're going to find you relatable. Because I think when we were in high school, we all had something, I don't care how perfect you seem, we all had something going on. And a lot of girls just don't know how to place their feelings, their thoughts into what does this mean. I've seen little girls from friends of mine as little as going into kindergarten with really bad anxiety. The anxiety, when the families talk about it, they don't want to call it mental health. They're like, oh, she just gets really nervous and, we're working it out. And it's like we want to downplay so much, because I will tell you, it feels really horrible to have people label you. None of us want to label. We don't want to sound imperfect in an already imperfect society, right? So, people need to feel that it's okay to know that anxiety is extremely common. There are different layers and types of ways that people can feel anxiety. I have felt anxiety to the point of being rushed to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, no, this is like anxiety. Like, what's going on? What are you stressing over? And this is what they always say, instead of saying, well, maybe we should refer her to, and I think that's what has happened for a long time, that the medical community and the mental health community were not working hand in hand. So a lot of people were getting neglected from getting the follow-up care that they needed. I think in our generation, most especially now, this is what we're hearing. Like we have a lot of women hurting because we were neglected by our medical providers for not following up and making sure that we were really getting the medical care that we needed. And if we had learned how to deal with it at a young age, we would have probably had, a better time maturing and growing up, being able to feel like we can function better. But I remember one time being in a job environment and, being under the pressure of deadline. And I went to the bathroom and my entire neck was all red and in hives. I didn't know what it was. But now I know it was anxiety. But, anxiety displays itself in different ways. So, I think people need to assess and really pressure their medical providers further when they feel like stuff is going on with them, and not just hear your doctor passively tell you that you're just stressing out. Because, like stress is the root to a lot of other things that can really break us down.
So true. So true. I mean, at 17, I started on high blood pressure medication.
Wow.
Because they they just kept asking me, well, what are you stressed about? You have no reason to be stressed out, and no one wanted to do anything for me. They just kept telling me to calm down, breathe. It's like, I don't even know what that is, but okay. And I know in my mid-20s, I started getting so stressed out that I did end up in the hospital quite a few times for chest pain. And I would be the youngest person, of course, staying overnight in the cardiology section, and everybody would go, what in the heck are you doing over here? And it got to the point where my nose would just burst. It would burst, and it would bleed uncontrollably heavily for about a half an hour to 45 minutes. And that is something that I've actually just started to circumvent maybe like over the last year or so. And it wasn't until I talked to my therapist, because no doctor told me. She goes, do you know that you could stroke out? Do you know that that's a precursor for a stroke? This is something that you really have to get under control. And honestly, no medical professional who I'd seen for chest pain, who I'd seen for nosebleeds and that kind of thing had ever told me that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, how do you deal with your anxiety now? Like, what do you do on a daily basis to ease your anxiety?
Well, for one, I am like into like all the meditation and stuff. I said, I really have to change my lifestyle, for real. So I journal every morning, I meditate every morning, and I'm actually in the middle of trying out some different medications. So I'm still working on it. It's still a day-by-day thing, but now more than anything, when I see myself getting into that space of anxiety, I stop everything that I'm doing in that moment and give myself 10 to 15 minutes is normally how long it takes to actually breathe, to take some time. I'm getting into yoga, and I've just had to really do a full lifestyle change, because just medication was not enough. Just meditation was not enough. I have to just completely change my entire lifestyle. From the ground up, and realize, okay, this has to be a new way of being for me, and just one of these options alone has not worked for me. So I'm just doing everything. I'm just like, this is where I have to live my life now. I'm journaling, I'm meditating, I'm doing yoga, I'm taking my meds. This is how I plan on living my life for as long as I need to. So
That's
awesome.
That's amazing. You go, girl. You have like your own whole self-care continuing wheel going on. When you're writing, you're taking your medication, you're meditating, you're yoga, you're changing your lifestyle. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. So many of us, for me, it was just like, oh, I'll just take my medication. And then I was introduced to meditation. So I'm like, okay, let me add meditation. And then working with you, I have affirmations. Oh, let me do some affirmations. And so it's a whole continuing circle of just kind of figuring out what works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I was just agreeing.
I just had to realize that it's not too much, and that at this point I'm worth all of that. I'm worth my own time. I'm worth taking care of myself. However much of my time it takes, like, I'm worth my own time. So I had to stop feeling guilty about, okay, I'm on meds. Why do I feel the need to meditate every morning when I know I need to be walking my dog, cooking breakfast for my husband, getting back to clients, doing all of these things? Like, I almost felt guilty about all of that time that I was taking away from my family. But then when I realized the time that I was giving my family was not very good because of how stressed out I was, you're snappy, I'm crying, I'm irritable, I'm stressed. So even that time was not quality. So
Right.
just learning to utilize my own time. It's mine. I get to take up as much of it as I need, and then I can give to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's go back to talking about your writing and how you can write for recovery. So,
hmm
when did you realize that writing was helping you heal?
Ooh. I realized after, honestly, I realized writing was helping me heal after I published, because I was a ghostwriter. And so
Mhm.
I was publishing a ton of books under a pen name, Lena Sky. And I realized how much of myself I was inserting into those books, how much of my own personal life I was inserting into those situations, how I was writing myself out of trauma. A lot of the experiences that those characters had, I had. Those that was my life. And my husband read some, and my family read some. And they're like, "Oh my God, didn't that happen to me? Was that us? You wrote in that scene, and that sounds a lot like what happened 4 years ago." And so I was like, "Oh my God, I am kind of writing myself into this stuff." And I was like, "You know what? I'm going to get back to journaling." And so after that, I did it a lot. I did a more of a direct approach in my journaling. And then one of my therapists also had it be a huge part of my healing, my notebook. And when I realized the self realizations that I came to, the huge behavioral changes, and I learned how to trust myself and my own voice more when I started to write it down. And that changed everything for me. So, yeah.
Wow. And so, how did you go from transition from ghostwriting to actually using your real name? Like, how did you find courage to put yourself out there? And you had working with anxiety and depression.
I'm still working on it. With that, someone told me they looked up Lena Sky and they said, "Do you know there's 74 books under that pen name?"
Ah,
How many?
74. I was writing like a book every week for a long time. Sometimes I
wow.
was writing 2 books a week. It was real. And if you look under my name, there may be like 4 books out there. And I'm just starting my new journey into this. So it's still a journey. And that's just one pen name that I've written under. I've written under several other ones as well. So,
Hmm.
but now I'm kind of saying goodbye to the pen names and I'm starting my own journey and I'm pushing through my fear. I'm still pushing through it. So, but I'm doing it anyway. Yay.
Yeah, you gotta feel it and do it anyway.
Yeah, stop being so afraid of the unknown. It's LenaSky. Lena Sky.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. So what if? So what advice? What three or more pieces of advice would you give someone who's dealing with depression and anxiety and interested in using writing to help them move forward?
Um, One, you don't have to have a pretty notebook. I tell people that all the time. I've written on the backs of envelopes. I've written on paper receipts. I literally, I remember one time I was sitting in the welfare office of what, maybe 4 years ago. So depressed, so sad, so angry to have to be there. And all I had in my bag was an envelope. And I just got out a pen and I just started writing. And I wrote front to back. And so you don't need a pretty notebook. And two, you don't have to write eloquently. And you don't even have to write positively because there was nothing positive on that paper. On that paper was everything that I was feeling. And it was not pretty. And
Mm-hmm.
so your writing doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to lie to yourself when you write to yourself. You know what it is, and
Yeah.
unloading all of those emotions and being able to see them. One, I was able to see how warped they were when I read them back because it reads differently than it does when you hear it up here. When you read it back, it comes back to you a lot different. So, and then also read it. So You don't need a notebook. It can be your computer. It can be on your phone. It can be on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be pretty eloquent or positive, because one of my notebooks for my therapist, it was every negative thought that I had. And just seeing like the frequency of my negative thoughts made me realize I had some changes to make, and then read it back.
Right.
Read it back. Read it again. I go through some of my old journals from a few years ago, and I'm like, oh, wait, I was tripping. And even when I feel like times are hard right now, I see how far I've come and how I look nothing like the person that I was 3-4 years ago. And I'm so grateful. So, yeah.
Wow. Now, why would you encourage us to read it back? What is that? Is that going to do something for us, or?
Yes, for me, it helps you see how far you've come, especially if you read the stuff that you have written months ago, years ago. It helps you see your own personal growth, and when your friend says something to you. Sometimes you can see how warped it is, even if you said something like that to her. So when she's talking a little off and she's speaking to you, something in your head is going, oh my goodness, she needs some help. And reading my journals has done the exact same thing.
Right.
When I've read some of the things that I've written, I have literally cried, even right after I've written them. I'll go back and I read what I wrote, and I will cry for myself because I'm like, she's broken.
Right.
This person is broken. And then when you realize that person's me, I need some help.
Yeah. So I have a question based on what you just you said. I need some help. When did you actually begin to seek care for yourself in terms of for mental health, not medical?
I was 19, and it was because of a really bad breakup for me. And okay, because I had an abortion when I was 18, and then I was still with that same person. And then he broke up with me for someone that he got pregnant. And then, mind you, that abortion was not something that I wanted. It was something that I felt pressured into getting. And after that, I partook in a lot of reckless behavior. I have a very sexual history past. And on a date, I got raped. And after that, I just started having a ton of panic attacks and a lot of suicide ideation. And so after that, I sought help through my the therapy program at my college. So I was 19 at that time.
Wow. So, well, I mean, it's good that it was at least, at a very relevant time, at a very critical time, and that you've had that support system. And aside from your therapist, have you had any other support systems that you've been able to use since then that you feel have been helpful for you, other than journaling and therapy? Is there anything else?
Other than journaling and therapy, it has been really surrounding myself with other women who are like me. So the women like Maisha, and just the women who have entrepreneurial dreams and who are going for it and trying to follow those dreams, but at the same time are dealing with these mental health issues.
Right.
So the internet has been my saving grace. Because, and I tell people that because I've connected with more people who have gotten me through my trials on the internet than I have anywhere else. Because as someone who deals with anxiety issues, it's hard for me to go outside sometimes and to seek help. So finding communities and like-minded women online has really helped me. And I've also got a life coach, so I did that too.
You are so equipped, I have to say.
Yes.
You have a little bit of everything that is just purely awesome, and you are super blessed. And it's good for other women to see that even though you've had these things that you have to overcome personally, emotionally, you've been a very successful writer. And we want people to know that you can have a mental illness and you can be a very successful person. And one has nothing to do with the other. There's a stigma in our society, within our culture. There's a disconnect and an assumption, especially by the older folks, our parents, our grandparents, where they say, child, if that person has mental health issues, then they definitely don't belong to be at home. And there's an assumption that you need to be locked up somewhere if you have some form of mental health. And, I want women, and I want young women to see that, you can manage your life and you can do all the great things that you aspire to do and to be, and still have your support system and be very successful. We've seen a lot of actors in the recent years come out and be vocal about their mental health, be vocal about getting care, and have a beautiful career, So, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So, I just want to encourage other women to not feel that there has to be a disconnect in your life just because there's something that you're trying to overcome personally. You can still be very successful. And there's a lot of people who mask the things that go on with them personally through their careers, by being workaholics and so forth. But I think this is why we're doing this, and why we have this support group on Facebook, and why we're doing Brown Sisters Speak, because we want everyone to begin to understand that it's okay. It's okay to not feel okay, and there are ways to work through it.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad to have had the chance. So me and Jetaun go back. Oh my gosh, Zoraida, you remember? Okay, all the pieces are coming together. You see, I got super excited. Okay, so we work. And let me tell you, I'm gonna work in my power right now because I'm not gonna be afraid to say it. Here it goes. So when we were working on Plus Fashion Week Chicago, yes, I said it. You guys, I have not said that in years. This is a breakthrough for me.
Okay. Yes, we
all work together. We don't all remember it like at the same time, but Jetaun was the person who was like our media, like our. I can't even put the words together because I'm so proud of myself because I said it and I've been so scared to say that. But like you see how it comes full circle. Like on one end we were connected, and now we're back connecting, talking about something that's important to our community and something that's relevant and something that can be powerful in another way besides just fashion. And I'm really glad. I just made this connection this morning. I'm glad that we've all stayed connected and we've all are working together for a greater cause. And who would have thought that 3 women who just came together to work on like a fashion project, or who were working in a fashion industry, or were working in nonprofit work like Zoraida, would come back full circle 4 years later and be just speaking openly and bravely about mental health issues and how it can affect your ability to push forward and what we've learned on this journey so that we can push forward. So, thank you guys for this platform that we can support each other and push forward.
You're welcome.
I don't know. I don't even know where that came from.
That's amazing.
Because you just got an epiphany.
I know, right? I get those all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Jetaun, for being on with us this morning and sharing your tips on how we can write for recovery. And most importantly, sharing your sister's story. I know you've talked about it on Facebook, and I know you've talked about it to me personally. But just being able to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. We don't know who's gonna watch this, our replay viewers. We don't know who they are. But my prayer is that they're encouraged by your testimony, and if they want to work with you, where can they find you?
If they want to work with me, the easiest thing they can find me through is through my website. It's www.jetaunjones.com. There is a contact sheet there. So I am a writer. I am a ghostwriter, and I'm all that other stuff. But I also help women write through recovery. So I have a program called Right to Freedom, and it's all about utilizing writing to heal. And because I have healed and I am still, it's like an everyday thing, you know, recovering from sexual trauma, from a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, that it's very, very near and dear to my heart to help other women do the same. So, yes.
Okay, so we're going to put out www.jetaunjones.com,
Yep,
and then the Right to Freedom, which is an amazing, awesome program that if you did not join this cycle, you better join the next one. And I'm speaking from experience. It's been a good breakthrough. I'm part of that program.
That's I'm
blessed with that opportunity. So I can attest to it when it's time to start the cycle again. Really helpful. And I encourage women, if you're watching, to look up Jetaun, look up the Right to Freedom, and connect.
Yes.
Sarita, do you have any more questions for Jetaun?
Jetaun, I'm joining your next class.
Oh, yay! That makes me so happy.
Actually, you know, I've actually journaled for a very long time, and it is extremely helpful. It's very
Excuse me, I have to mute my microphone.
Read back a year ago. You see a lot of things, but you can see also patterns, and you can see triggers. You can see people that have triggered you. You know, you can learn a lot about yourself or your surrounding. You can see if you're in a toxic relationship. You know, I discovered that, you know, I was in a pattern in a toxic relationship with someone who was living a life of and you know, eventually you make decisions about your life. So it's really amazing, and I recommend everyone to journal.
Absolutely. And it gives you your power back. And I've never felt as powerful because I don't just, you know, journal, because now I've been doing a ton of studying about people, well, actual therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists who've written books about this, and so I've been implementing it, and now I journal. I still have my everyday just journal, but I also journal with a purpose now, and very clear cut where I'm going. And I know with the Right to Freedom program, it's never about pointing the finger, which is sometimes where we tend to do. This person did that to me, and da 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 da, you know. And so the Right to Freedom program is all about getting your personal power back and letting you realize that it all starts with you and the way that you view the world. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sold. I want to do it again. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but writing has made a big difference in my life. I think I started writing when that was part of my recovery wellness action plan when I got out of the hospital. Was to write, and so I had wrote this book, Black, Beautiful, and Bipolar, and I look at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've grown so much since then. And then I look at the recent book that I have out, and I'm like, oh wow, so it's like a continuation of the first book. But it's really recognizing the triggers of how I'm still healing and healed from emotional abuse. And writing really does help you. You can write your life. And I think I just saw something about, I think her name is Octavia Spencer, and how she basically wrote her life into existence. And it was all through like her journals. And I think it's really powerful that. Thank you. Who's Octavia Spencer? Is she an actress?
Yeah, she's an actress. I'm in the middle of going through all Octavia Butler's work, and I'm like, yes. But yes, Octavia Butler is the truth. Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna have to start reading up on her myself.
She's a
But
black science fiction writer.
oh, okay, okay. But it also, just to piggyback on the writing, but Steve Harvey a few months back, came out where, I guess in his camp, he tells his boys to write down 500 things that he wants. And so this became a viral video on Facebook. And so I'm on number 240, but starting to write out what I want, some of those things on that list have actually started to happen. And so that really shows the power of writing and the power of writing your story and sharing your story, and how you can transform through that process.
Right.
And thanks for being on with us, Jetaun. You're welcome to stay or go. We're going to talk a little bit about trauma-informed care, what's happening in the world this week, and what we can do to make sure that we are not living traumatized, like walking triggers.
Okay. Right. I'll stay.
What? Zarida, I'll start you off. What's happening in the world right now?
Oh, Lord, you're going to get me started?
Oh, yes, honey. This is now time for the real sister chat.
So, you know, I am a mother of 2 young men who are very vocal and not very tolerant of misbehaviors, you know. And I could just see one of them questioning a situation, just making a question. And I would hate to see that they are a victim of a circumstance of another man's fear over, because that's really the way that I am beginning to see it, that it's not everyone and it's not all, but some people are fearful of the unknown, and in their ignorance, they respond, perhaps even in a way that they did not expect to respond. And some are just extremely ignorant, have learned very negative behavior, negative images, have heard, you know, their granddaddy, their great-granddaddy, their daddy speak about a people in a way that they've learned the wrong information. They've learned not to be accepting of when they don't even know what it is. So that is something that I know it's going to take still many generations to break that thought and that connotation that people have of another culture. And I can tell you that this is a worldwide issue. This is not exclusive to your community or mine or your town. It is a worldwide systematic problem that we have. And just the same way that we're breaking the stigma by educating people of mental health, we also need to educate people of this subject matter as well. Because, you know, I saw one of the churches put this PSA announcement. It went on Facebook yesterday, and it made me feel a million things that we have to make a infomercial 2-minute PSA to tell our children how to behave if they are confronted in a situation where they're pressed by the law. But how well are they educated and trained to deal with other human beings while in the line of duty. Because, yeah, they go through a psychological test, and yeah, they go through a lot of training. I see in NYPD, there was a graduation in January and there was a graduation in June. Do you think in 6 months that's enough training time for a regular person who's now deciding to, want to be someone that wants to help their community? I understand that that is a goodwill intention, but sometimes some of those individuals are not equipped to deal with the emotional circumstance that goes along with that. And people sometimes, just like in other careers, like teachers who are not really meant to be teachers, they need to learn to see the signs and step down and find something else to do, because the psychological pressure of being someone who's out in the street every day upholding the law by enforcing the law, they cross the line. And so this is the problem that we're having by people who are crossing the line, and they are, really not equipped to handle it emotionally. If a man is standing here looking at another man and in fear of what he's going to do begins to shoot before he assesses the situation, I question his mental ability to really handle that job. And unfortunately, I'm looking back at all the crazy shootings that we've been having in churches and schools and all these tragedies we've been having. Those are not men of color doing that. So there's a stigma here as well. We have a lot of people who are walking around ill-minded, sick, and not being treated, not getting help. The families neglecting their circumstance, neglecting and hiding that their family member needs some form of treatment, and instead they let them walk around like that. And what they do is what happens, either out of PTSD or out of whatever is going on with them, they are then stepping out and taking it out on society. So it's a very big problem that we have in society, and I think it's a combination of things, not just one thing. We have people doing things because of mental health issues, and we have people doing things because of learned behavior, to learn to hate and not like a culture, and to fear a culture because they don't know. So yeah, we have a big problem.
Sorry, I was looking at the video. Jetaun, did you want to share your insights on what's happening in the world this week?
Oh, this week has been... I definitely agree with everything that has been said. And at this point, I just feel frozen. And I've seen so many people who I honestly never would have thought speak up and speak out. And then some people who I thought would have been so silent. And I don't know. As someone who knows and loves some police officers, I agree that they're not all bad. And I also have to say that they've been very silent. And that within itself has been a little off-putting. And so for now, I've just been asking myself and then of other people to extend the same grace to others that we would like extended to us, and to put ourselves in other people's shoes mentally if we can. And that includes people that don't necessarily look like us, people who are on the police force, because that's really the only way that right now I've been able to keep my own sanity during these times. So a lot of self-care here this week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Thank you for sharing. I agree. Self-care is really important this week. To piggyback on Jetaun and Zoraida, the media is perpetuating the imagery of what we've seen all week long. So every time a new story breaks, they're going back to the old story. And then another news story breaks, and then they're going back to the 2 stories before that. So now, not only do we all know that there is a black genocide, not black, brown, we're going to say brown because it's not just happening to black people, it's happening to our Latino brothers as well. There's a genocide happening right now. So not only are we being fed on social media and mainstream media the genocide, it's psychological warfare. So we have psychological warfare, we have genocide, and no one is coming out to say, hey, grassroots organizers are coming out and say, hey, you need to decompress, take time, step away from the computer, go do something nice for yourself. Only the grassroots organizers are saying how to not be traumatized by these events. And so my issue right now is we have these million-dollar nonprofit corporations like NAMI and Mental Health America with city and statewide chapters. Where are you right now for the people, for people of color? We don't want to go to a group community meeting. Why are you not in our communities handing out steps to practice self-care, giving us information and resources so that we can start to heal? Because this is triggering. This is traumatic. This is doing a lot. I know for me personally, it's doing a lot. I've shut down a couple times this week. You know, I've slept a lot this week because it's mentally too much, and none of these mainstream mental health organizations are doing anything about it. How can you be $1 million company and your CEO last year made $128,000, but you're not doing any grassroots work? There should be some form of fraud. That's like fraud to me. Like, you are defrauding the system if you are not caring for everyone in the system, because these same organizations also don't reach out to people of color. Most of their campaigns, everyone's white. Mental health is not just a white issue. Mental health is everyone's issue. And so instead of you being at your national convention and just talking about what your speakers are talking about, who are predominantly Caucasian, you need to take time, as Zoraida said earlier. Zoraida said it. Make a PSA. If we had a black congregation make a PSA on how to stay safe and protected as a person of color, stop your conference, get your multimedia team who you pay thousands of dollars to, and make a video for people to help them get through the trauma. Grassroots organizers, we don't have the money and the resources to make a PSA that can go out and stream live and reach millions of people. We're on the ground. We're on the ground trying to reach the people. So how dare you capitalize on your walks and capitalize on your fundraising and not do anything? Do you know this can be triggering for someone who's suicidal and who already wants to take their life and is a person of color? Somebody might kill themselves over this, but because you're not giving people the resources, you're having your conferences and you're probably on vacation somewhere in Tahiti. People are dying. People are traumatized. And it's not okay. And I'm frustrated from the point as a woman of color, seeing what's happening to our brothers of color. I'm frustrated with the systems that don't support people of color. This week has triggered me beyond belief. And it's triggering, but it's also empowering because I know that there's work to do. And if NAMI and all these other organizations can get millions of dollars and host conventions and walks, and who else knows what they're doing with their money because their community programs are ran by volunteers. Then Brown Sisters Speaks and other grassroots organizations will do the same thing. We will get millions of dollars, but we will get these millions of dollars and we will do the work behind what the people need. And that's the problem. The work is not being done. The work is being done by community volunteers. That's what we're doing. We're doing the work, but give us the funding because we are really going to get in these communities and give these people the services. People out here are hurting. People out here we are walking time bombs. They wonder why, oh my God, why are you so angry? Really? Do you not know what's happening in the world today? You're going to say, oh, well, all lives matter. And, I don't want to hear that. Like, we're tired of hearing all lives matter. We're tired of you guys making mental health a white issue. It's time. The time is now. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm triggered. So now I'm going to be quiet. Because this week has been extremely traumatic. And there's no one besides us few grassroots organizers who aren't being retweeted often. No one is given the resources. So, Dorita, do you have anything else to say?
No, I mean, you said it very well. And you know what? Sometimes it's okay to be angry because not enough of those resources get trickled down. And, families are very frustrated when they try to find services and resources in their communities. And those resources in communities of people who are impoverished are very limited. We were having this conversation this week where we were talking about, a single mom going into an agency to go get mental health services for a child, and it's in the same waiting area where there are adults who are substance abuse recovery, in substance abuse recovery, who may be active users, and they may not feel comfortable bringing their 5-year-old child into that same environment, but that is the only resource available in her community. Because there's only one place, within her walking distance radius to go get free services, right? So, where are the services where you don't have to encounter that? You're going to find them in lucrative areas where they're predominantly Caucasian neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. That is a problem. So, where are they investing their money and where are they putting their money and who's getting the services? And where is the continuity of care when you're taking kids in for mental health services into agencies and into hospitals where they're rotating interns? That child can't open up and have a conversation about their trauma because they're not comfortable with someone who they cannot relate to. Boys are not having male therapists available to them, relatable, and 6 months or 8 months later, they tell them, your therapist is going to change because now she's getting moved to whatever department, and here you are, Zuzi's going to take care of you now. That doesn't help a child recover from trauma. That doesn't help a child recover who's having PTSD because he's in a home with parents who are, active in domestic violence, and the mother is not ready to walk out of the home yet. That's very real. So, where's all those millions of dollars going into providing services in the communities where we need them? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if people want to talk about it, let's talk about it, because this is reality.
Yeah, the fact that I'm sorry to cut you off, but the fact that no one from these national mental health organizations has reached out and said anything, that by far is extremely frustrating. That by far has me, I've literally, you guys want to start a petition? I think I will start a petition online, and I'm going to go to my state's attorney's office. Yeah, I'm getting real now, because I want you all to look into where is this money going, because we the people, as the Constitution says, we're not getting the services. You're not, everything is not supportive of us as people of color. It's not conducive. It's easy. I could easily go to the SAMHSA website, the government mental health website, and copy and paste mental health information and put it on a website and say I'm a nonprofit mental health organization. But there's more work to be done besides copying and pasting from a website and having volunteers run a community space. Sometimes these community spaces aren't even local. Like, there's not even a local space in Oakland, California. The space we need that information. You know what I mean? We need that resource. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we need to definitely heal from this week. It's been a very traumatic week, and healing is necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like Jetaun said, one way we can heal, we can write through our pain, and we can reach out to the crisis text line, which is, I think it's start to 741-741.
Right. I just want to encourage anyone who feels like, they need some resources, they need some referral information, and they don't have access to it, or they don't know where to search. Feel free to write us on our webpage. We're at brownsisters.org. They can go on Facebook and find us at Brown Sisters Speak. And we definitely do have a support group there. It's a peer support group. So if you don't feel comfortable yet to step out of your house and seek out a provider, if you just really want to be heard and you need a sounding board, if you just feel like you just need to at least be visible in a community where you just hear other women talking about it until the point where you feel like you can talk about it, our support group will be there for you for that purpose. And, I'm finding people that are in the support group, they are sharing it with other parents and sharing it with other young women and sending them to our support group, because we have an active conversation every day. And a lot of people feel that they are getting support. So I feel that support is extremely important. To have support is extremely important. And, we're launching this week a duplicate support group on Facebook, and it's going to be moderated in Spanish. I have not found one support group or one group on Facebook that helps the Latino culture. So we're going to be doing that as well. And hopefully we'll be able to have people come on in and have a conversation with us as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that resource. So we're going to go ahead and end our coffee chat this morning. Thank you for our live viewers. Thank you for our replay viewers. We hope that you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you soon with our next coffee chat. Thanks for the resources, Zareta. Talk to you soon.
All right, you guys have a good afternoon.
Bye.